We are going to print the background for our Boo project. So let me show you how I did that. We're going to use a 5x7" gel press gel plate. We're going to use phthalo blue and cobalt teal in the premium line of DecoArt paints. I have a brayer. Mine's always a soft rubber brayer. Use whatever you prefer. And we're going to use a paper doily. And you can see all the pattern that shows up on that paper doily. You can reuse these multiple times. So you will also need a piece of deli paper. So let's put some paint out. A dollop of each. You don't want this to be terribly dark because we want our background to show through on this. So be conscious of how much paint that you put on your gel plate. And if for some reason you get too much, which I think I have a little too much here, just take your brayer and run it across your gel plate to remove some of that paint. And I can have some light areas and I can have some dark areas. And you can look from this side that you can see through that. That's just about perfect. Take my doily, using firm pressure, go right over the top. Take my deli paper, lay it down over the top of it, and that's just about perfect. I would recommend that you do more than one. As you can see, of these three, each one has a different value. So the three of them will give me plenty of options for my background. I also have one that's a little bit darker. I may find I want to use this one as well. This is a 5x7" 1/8 inch Baltic birch piece of wood. This is actually available from Pinecraft Inc. It's a really nice little piece of wood. I've sealed it with wood sealer. I have base coated it with moon yellow. We're going to tear this apart and just tear it with your fingers because you want that kind of random look to this piece. And I'm just going to arrange these. And I could have put the entire piece on here, but sometimes it's just easier to work with smaller pieces. And I want some light colors too, so I think I'll take these light pieces from this one. And that yellow should show through this piece so that I have a slight glow. We're going to use DecoArt decoupage. I think I will start up in this corner. As I get each piece on, I have a plastic scraper. You don't have to use this plastic scraper. You could use a credit card, a silicone scraper. Trying to line up my edges just a little bit. Okay, next one I think is this. The nice thing about using decoupage and deli paper is that the deli paper appears, it doesn't do it entirely, but it almost appears to be translucent. All of your seams tend to just blend together. Now if you want to adhere this all as one piece, by all means do it. It's just a little easier to do it this way. Okay, and don't worry too much if your pieces are wrinkly. They're going to dry relatively flat, but all that yellow is going to appear to glow through the piece. Okay, have to let that dry. When I come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what we do next. This is dry. I took a sanding block and just gently sanded right over the edge. And that, you can still see a little bit of the paper on the edges, but it got rid of quite a bit of it. So if you did not want a gel print, like I did on the front, I'm going to show you an alternative on the back. So I'm going to take a big brush. This is a 1-inch wash brush, and I'm going to load it with phthalo blue that we used when we were gel printing, because we want to use the same paint colors. Just load it. Dip a corner into that cobalt teal hue and a corner into snow white. And then slip slap right over the top of either your front or your back, whichever you reload your brush. I'm going to add a little bit more cobalt teal this time and a little bit more white because I want to vary this. And I'm going to protect my surface a little, or protect my table a little bit by and it's just a slip slap back and forth. It's not the exact look of the gel printed paper, but it's a good substitute if you are someone who does not want to gel print. And then I'm going to look at my edges because they're a little messy here. I'm just going to go back over the top of this just a bit. And I'm not too concerned if I get it around on my front of my piece. I can just wipe it off. Okay, I'm going to finish up my edges and I'll be right back. I'm going to dry brush some of the metallic fluid acrylic gold all around the outside edge, and I'm just using a scrumbler brush. You can use whatever you like to for this type of dry brushing. I'm going to take just a little bit off my brush, not a lot, as I still want it to have lots of paint on it, and I'm just going to go right around the edges. I'm just going to come in a little bit on my bottom because my sun is going to cover most of this. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of the phthalo blue, leaving the paint on this brush. I'm just going to dip into my phthalo blue just a little bit. I'm going to tap into that gold just a little bit and mix it right on my palette. And I'm going to go just kind of over my edges with that very lightly. I'm hardly touching my brush down to that edge. Just kind of trying to darken those edges in just a little. I'm really staying right on the edge of my surface. And I'm kind of covering up any of those areas that I didn't cover on my edges with my paper. It's kind of like that. I might come down here just a bit. I'm going to just tap right into that phthalo blue again, just to kind of darken that up just a bit. Because it's kind of a greenish gold right now, almost like a turquoise color, which I really like, but I just want to darken in some of my corner areas with that phthalo blue just a bit. And I'm just going over my corners. I'm going to let that brush dry. I'm going to grab a dry brush and I'm going to go back into just my gold, and I'm just going to kind of touch up some, just brighten up those blue areas just a bit. Just in case you kind of lost the gold look. I think that's fine. I think that looks really nice. I have transferred my sun to my gel print. I am going to cut out my sun. Okay. To transfer this, I'm just going to measure. I'm going to find the center of this 5 by 7 inch piece. I'm going to make a mark. I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to grab my decoupage. So how I'm going to adhere this is I'm going to fold it in half, just like so, and I'm going to do half and half. Add my decoupage. Now, if you're not a decoupage lover and you want to use gel medium, by all means go right ahead. Open that up, glue it down, slide it around to get it on there. Do the same thing to the other side. Take my scraper, I have my smaller moon ready to go as well, and I've kind of positioned my moon, if you can see it through my fingers, where I want it placed, but I do want to be able to get it in the general location of where I want my moon. So I just placed it, doing the same thing, setting it down, gluing half of it, gluing the other half, go over the top of it. We'll let that dry. I'm going to use that phthalo blue and my angle brush, and I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow around each one of my moons. This doesn't have to be perfect because a lot of this isn't even going to show, but I do want to just kind of give it a little bit of a shadow. So I'm just floating right around the outside edge of this moon. Just add some depth. I'm going to do the same thing around the smaller moon. And I'm going to darken in this side just a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to float shade a little bit of orange flame onto the left-hand side of our moon, on the top and on the bottom. And you can see that I've already added a layer of orange flame to get it that brighter color. And then over the top of that, we're going to do a glaze float of Napa Red. So let's just glaze it lightly. Same thing down here. Notice I'm just keeping this down to the bottom. I'm just going to walk that color up just a little bit into my lower areas of my moon. Okay, we're going to also put a highlight of, it's neon scorching yellow. It's a hot shot color. I think now they call it just a neon color. And I'm just walking that color in. Just like that. And we're going to do the same thing to the smaller moon. Okay. We are going to transfer this circular part of the design, and I'm using this red transfer paper. I think it's a Serral brand, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll be honest, I have had a hard time finding anything that would transfer onto deli paper and this background piece. So whatever you can find would be great, but this red actually I found has worked the best of anything. So transfer part of the design. You don't need to transfer the ghosts. You don't need to transfer the fences yet. You don't need to transfer the branches of the tree. Just transfer the buildings, the tombstones, the gates, and the trees. So we're not painting the doorways and windows.